Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence of Sound, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thank you so much for checking out the series. As always, you know the drill with these things. If you like what you're seeing, the interviews, hit that subscribe button. We bring you 3 brand new ones every single week. And I am so excited today to be talking with the Staves, who are back with a brand new record, and it's instantly one of my favorites of the year already. I'm very confident in saying that with Good Woman. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Hi.
Yeah, we're well, thank you.
Yeah, we're doing okay. We're still here. We're still going.
Still existing.
That's the point. That's the good news right there. Well, again, congratulations on this record with Good Woman. There's so many layers and so many amazing things happening in this, so many interesting moments, aurally, lyrically, the whole thing. I mean, it's, as a fan, I think it's everything that you want out of a record. I know the road to get here wasn't easy, and there is some backstory. There's a weird thing to start out with, but you know, there's birth, there's death, there's heartache, there's everything going on. In a moment like this, like, how important does songwriting become? Does it have to be pushed off to, you know, the back seat of your lives, or did it become sort of the escape in itself?
I think initially, I think there's kind of a romantic idea that I wanted to have of like finding my escape in music and being able to just pour everything out. But in reality, I think it takes a little longer, and I had to just push it to the back seat for a while. And then when I was ready, then I could unleash hell.
Yeah, I mean, birth and death and all those things. I mean, just the usual things that albums are about, right?
You know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think, you know, we lost our mother, and it was a complete shock to us. So we had to, and that was 2 years ago, and we really needed to take a break at that point. And we had tried to carry on. At this point, we were demoing the record, and we'd already assembled most of the record by that point, and we'd been self-producing. And we tried to carry on for a bit and went to the studio, and I think had an idea that it's what she would have wanted us to do, because our mum was our biggest fan, and, you know, our best friend, and was so supportive always of anything we did. But, you know, especially the fact that we decided to work together as sisters in a band. And we had some idea of maybe carrying on, you know, for her sake. And soon you realise that you have to just do what you need to do when it comes to these, you know, huge events that happen in your life. So we ended up taking some time out, and I think felt quite adrift. We'd parted ways with our management at that point. And I think that it's kind of that thing when you take your foot off the gas, you slow down, and then you forget how you ever did it in the first place. And, you know, you lose momentum, and it was like, are we going to finish this record? Are we even going to be a band anymore? What are we doing?
Is it even good? Do I even like the songs? Who am I? What am I doing?
And we ended up reaching a point where we'd been given enough time and space from by our label and everyone that we'd worked with. We were very lucky that they were very sympathetic and gave us that time to grieve and to heal. And during that time, we found out that Emily, who's not on this interview today, was pregnant and was having a baby, and she's had a baby girl. So it was like, it just brought so much joy and love into our lives, having this new addition to the family. And I think it really brought us all back to life.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we got in touch with John Congelton when we felt ready to go back in the studio. And he's produced albums that we love by St. Vincent and by Angel Olsen and Sharon Van Etten. And John just kind of gave us, I think, a confidence boost. He was just saying, you know, you guys are on the right track. This stuff's good, and I think you have something to say, and I really want to hear it. And let's finish it. And so we did. So that's kind of,
God bless him,
kind of the journey, I guess, we've been on.
Yeah. Congelton, I mean, I'm such a fan, of course, of what he's been doing this past decade and everything. He's really good about experimentation without going too extreme. Like, I think he still understands the song, you know, to be in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd be curious as to, you know, maybe specifically, like, what new tricks did you all pick up from him?
Well, I kind of think aside from I don't know, not speaking specifically about specific ideas, but I do think that the overall energy and principles of how he works are so good and so healthy. He doesn't, we tend to, we can spin ourselves out and overthink things quite a lot and dawdle. And he's just the antithesis of that. He was just this real shot of energy, that
A shot in the arm.
a shot in the arm. And he just, yeah, he's very, with every sonic decision that he makes, he doesn't half-heartedly do it. He really goes for it and is really confident in his decisions. And I think that was a really great energy to be around.
Yeah,
and I'd like to kind of learn from that.
I think as a mission statement for the record, it became quite clear as we were assembling the songs over the last few years that we were being a lot more honest, I think, lyrically. And I think bold was the word we kept using. We didn't want to be afraid in the studio to just try stuff and push things to the limit, and you know, reach out and kind of experiment and take things a little further than we have before. So John really was the best person to do that with. He's really open to your ideas and really committed to, you know, trying stuff out rather than having his own kind of agenda of how he wants things. So it was really lovely to work with him in that way. And also, you know, we'd assembled a lot of these demos and had a lot of ideas already there. So it's sometimes a difficult position for a producer to come in at a later stage at a record and not want to kind of put their own stamp on it and change everything. And he was so sympathetic to what we'd already done. So it was, yeah, I mean, it was just perfect.
Yeah,
and
it ended up being a good kind of patchwork of everything that we'd done before and everything that he brought. Yeah.
Well, it is interesting because when I listen to it, like right when Best Friend started, I thought, oh, that's interesting. I can hear a little bit of maybe what you guys were doing with Y music, you know, a little bit in there. But otherwise, the thing that struck me with this record is I don't hear a lot of musical references, a lot of musical touch points. Like, you know, with some albums, you're like, oh, I bet they were listening to Bowie, whatever, you know. That doesn't really, I don't really get that a lot from this one. And was that the case? I mean, did you all find yourself saying that, oh, let's try, you know, this because of whoever did that?
I think that there's probably influences in there. I myself, I think partly because everything happened over quite a long period of time. So it wasn't this condensed period of working.
Yeah.
That's kind of summed up by exactly what you were listening to at the time. And certainly, like you said, it wasn't like, you know, we listened to this David Bowie album and this is how we want our record to sound. Right. It definitely was an amalgamation of, I think, a lot of living and experiencing. Yeah. I mean, I guess there's a song called Satisfied on the record, and I think I was leaning into the war on drugs for me, for the production for that one. That was something that I was into. But I mean, really, you don't want to sound arrogant like it exists in this vacuum and we're just these creatives that take no inspiration from anyone. But there definitely wasn't kind of one leading thing at all.
Yeah, I think the main leading thing was just wanting to, when we could, more than emulate something, but I don't know, try to play with sonic space a little bit. Like try and use field recordings and along with more close-up vocal sounds and things like that, just to, I don't know, to make the listener feel like they're jumping into lots of different spaces.
Yeah. Well, you can hear though. I do love the concept of adding the field recordings in. It really does make it this whole piece, you know. And I don't know if it's meant to be listened. I mean, I guess as an album, I think most artists would hope to be listening to as one piece. But even when you look, even at just a track list, I mean, you know, the way it's laid out: paralyzed, devotion, failure, satisfied, trying. Like at any point, did you all think, is this telling a linear story at all?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely when we were kind of throwing out all the titles and thinking about the track listing, we definitely did realize that, man, there are some pretty real titles there.
Yeah, I mean, lyrically, we'd been the most honest on this collection of songs. And even looking back at the last 2 records, even the album artwork was quite obscure. We were quite obscured in there. In the first record, it was illustrated album artwork. The second one, we're like in the distance in sort of silhouettes. Whereas this one, we decided to just put our faces on it and really fill up that whole space in a way of just really owning up to what's on there. We're not trying to hide behind anything anymore. We're older now. Life's too short. You have to say how you feel and not be afraid to, I guess, to speak your truth.
Mm.
There's a lot of that on there, and compliments on the first single as well with Good Woman.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it's such a,
thanks.
you know, powerful statement. I was thinking that, you know, it's become an outdated thing now for, you get with a lot of guys, you know, the old songs about what it meant to be a man. And that just seemed so, you know, when you hear those songs now, it's almost like an eye roll, and to hear the flip on that, you know, to, I guess, a sense of power. I'm obviously saying this as a white guy coming at this angle, but
how dare you?
But it's easy to feel exactly what you guys were talking about. And I think that's what I mean by the strong statements that's heard throughout this record. I mean, it is a powerful album, and I can't compliment you guys enough on that.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so glad that you responded to it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the album's called Good Woman, but it's also about, it's not just, you know, gendered. It's about the idea of being a good person and what that means. And there's a song called Trying on the record, and at one point we thought that might be what we called the album, because it's this idea of, isn't everyone just trying their best?
Yeah.
Isn't everyone just trying and not necessarily achieving? Maybe we're failing along the way, but life sometimes feels like that. But then we thought that was quite a downer album title, so Good Woman felt like it kind of summed everything up, especially with, you know, our sister Emily having her baby daughter, and thinking about our mother. It was this idea of womanhood being so ever present and ingrained, you know, inherently in what we do. But I think that, you know, the mind is so scattered and full of kind of worry and tension, and especially at the moment. Although obviously we didn't make the record during this lockdown, but I think that it comes across in the kind of sonic landscape we were talking about that we were building. There's quite a lot of different stuff going on, and it's almost like if you could put a kind of wire into someone's head and their brain and kind of allow all those thoughts that are whirring around in your head, like worrying about going back over the past and rehashing situations you were in and mistakes you made. And sometimes it's like you have to try and let it out. And I think that, I guess, some of the patchwork kind of element to the album, I feel like, is at least my mind just kind of emptying out.
The inane babble in Jess's head.
Yeah, the voices in my head.
I'm really, really happy that you let it out. I really, really am. You've made your best album yet, your all's best album yet. Thank you so much for continuing to do what you do. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it today, too.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure chatting.